No matter how bright the rays of any sun king, no man rules alone. A king can't build roads alone, can't enforce laws alone, can't defend the nation or himself alone. The power of a king is not to act, but to get others to act on his behalf, using the treasure in his vaults. A king needs an army and someone to run it, treasure and someone to collect it, law and someone to enforce it. The individuals needed to make the necessary things happen are the king's keys to power.
Demanding accountability and defending your rights against the police specifically, and the government generally, are difficult and dangerous tasks. Your right to watch the government and record what you see is a natural right that is protected by the Constitution, and it cannot be taken away by the government.
I already did a story on how our rulers and their enforcers handled the security and stripped liberties from some of the attendees at the Drag Queen Story Hour event. For more information on that, go check out North Idaho Exposed in his videos. I put links to those and all of my sources in the description below. In this video, I'm going to focus on the event itself. I know Drag Queen Story Hour has received a lot of national attention and protests, but this is a local event, so I want to focus on that aspect. That being said, my biggest problem with the movement is the attitude seems to be an accept us and our ways, or we want you thrown in a cage. Let me be clear, that's not how I feel this Spokane event went. That is what I feel about the movement in broader terms. It happens to all movements. They start as a smaller group of people, and as the idea gains traction and more people align themselves with it, our masters see an opportunity to manipulate supporters and detractors into more divide and conquer. Our masters don't want us talking to each other after all. That might bring solutions that don't require the strong arm of the ruling class. And that is more to my point with this video. I'm not going to get into whether I think dudes dressing as a female is right or wrong. Honestly, it doesn't really matter what I think about that. Yes, we're all entitled to our own opinions and the ability to share them. As long as we aren't hurting anyone else's property, or defrauding anyone else, it really shouldn't matter what we do or think. To those of you who would say these drag queen story hours and the movement in general are harming our children, I would just say let's all take a long, hard look at the rest of society. Kids are programmed, sexualized, and preyed on daily by the entertainment industry. If we want these two opposing groups to have any sort of understanding, there needs to be a dialogue. Instead, what we get is the groups literally being separated by a line. Order followers for the rulers of Spokane were sending people to the appropriate side by asking them as they approached the event what side they were on, or if they were there for the reading. How are we ever going to have understanding with these differences of opinion if people aren't allowed to talk about them? According to reports by North Idaho Exposed, there were several people brought to tears by the fact that they weren't allowed to cross the street and intermingle and discuss things with the opposition. Very few people even raise concern over this to order followers, and those who do are usually labeled as a problem or harassing the cops. In fact, it is just people questioning and pushing back against our enslavement. I thought this country was free. Apparently, we can only exercise our rights given to us by nature if we do it in a way that is approved by our masters. Stop thinking our masters can protect us. They can't. We've all been taught to stand back and let our rulers and government sort things out and do what is right and just for us. It should be clear by now that this great experiment in democracy has gone wrong. Our masters in government are exactly that, masters, and we are the slaves. Frederick Douglas wrote about escaping from slavery. Not just the physical escape, but the mental escape. To me, it's the mental aspect that truly makes a slave subservient to a master. Physical chains can be seen and therefore are easier to break. Mental chains are invisible, making them hard to identify, let alone break free from. I'm going to read a quote from Frederick Douglas himself about this concept. As I read it, think not of what we've been programmed to think of as slavery, but instead of us as slave and our governments as the masters. To make a contented slave, you must have a thoughtless one. It is necessary to darken his moral and mental vision, and, as far as possible, to annihilate his power of reason. He must be able to detect no inconsistencies in slavery. The man that takes his earnings must be able to convince him that he has a perfect right to do so. It must not depend on mere force. The slave must know no higher law than his master's will. The whole relationship must not only demonstrate to his mind its necessity, but its absolute rightfulness. I bring this topic up with this story about Drag Queen Story Hour to point out what slaves we all are. We all just went along with what our masters told us because, well, they're keeping us all safe. I hate to break it to you if you were there or you believe this to be true, but no, they weren't. They were keeping us controlled, not safe, giving us the illusion we were free. Our rulers and government have convinced us they have a perfect right to rule over us. They show force, but don't even need to use it. We just collaborate, myself included. They have so convinced us that we need them that we actually allow them to make the division between groups like this greater by forcing separation and creating a shouting match across the street. Putting up the tape demonstrated their necessity to be there. After all, we had to be kept safe while we were allowed to exercise our rights. Then, when there was any shouting back and forth from people leaning across the tape that was put there as programming material, it showed their absolute rightfulness. In the end, most left happy. The slaves left with smiles for getting to voice their opinion, albeit very controlled and contained. Our rulers were happy because we followed their will, continuing our slavery, and the kids got to have books read to them, by I'm sure what they viewed as adults who play dress up. What could be more fun than that? Myself, I was left a little dumbfounded and amazed at all the blissful servitude that was going on. But hey, that's just an average day inside the mind of questionable authority. I'll leave you with a couple conversations I had at the event. While you're listening to those, hit the like button, share this video with everyone you know, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Links to all of my platforms as well as the merchandise store are in the description. Go check out the store and show everyone you know you're aware of our programming with my Rewarding the Obedient design. You can put it on a hat, shirt, or even an apron for when you're making your non-processed homemade food for you and your family and friends to enjoy.
Were you at the Pride March?
No. Wow, was that this morning?
No, last Saturday.
Last Saturday, all right, I remember seeing some stuff.
This year, there were 20 of us angels. We wear this PCB form on our shoulders, put a sheet over us, and then another one fits into the shoulders, and it's 4 feet tall, and we put a sheet on it, so we're angels.
All right.
So I was standing in front of them the whole time. I had never heard so much talk about angel sex. Good gravy, who's got the mind on it?
Right, yeah, that's interesting.
I could not believe it. On and on and on and on. I thought, you're the abnormal one.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's a good point.
On up. White costumes wearing t-shirts. I'm gay. God
people in
doesn't make
costumes.
gay children. Yeah, he does. Are you, regarding child care, in order for you to accept
I'm an independent journalist.
your state pays tax dollars,
Okay.
I would like to enroll in a program to promote your deviancy. I opted out of this program, and I was penalized by the state of Washington.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
I can no longer receive state aid funds.
YouTube channel called Questionable Authority. So I'd come down and check this out. Normally I kind of film like government things and stuff like that, but I thought I would come down and check this out.
Holy
It's very
statue,
interesting.
my
I walked on both
crucifix,
sides.
and I would have to teach
The
homosexuality.
energy on the other side of the street is really somber, and I guess I understand it because their view, like what's happening over here is bad. They view it as bad and like unhealthy. So they kind of have, it's just like a sad feeling, like an energy. But over here, the energy is like happy,
Be assigned to
like
coach.
excited. Whether you
Come
agree with it
to
or
our
not, like
daycare
it's just a better
facility
energy over here.
and
I feel like.
Well, they knew homosexuality and all the pervertedness that goes along with it.
Preaching. So they brought the damn
And if I didn't do
Okay,
that,
yeah.
I would be zero.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
I was talking to a librarian inside, and she said there's going to be another one next week at the downtown library.
Oh, really?
I said, is it bigger? I had a hard time getting the people
But you
inside.
will repent and turn back to the eternal God.
protest that one. There's not really a spot downtown to do. Well, yeah, it's definitely interesting going down here, checking things out, talking to people.
It's kind of sad.
No, I agree with that. It is sad. You know, I guess what I take from this too is I have some pretty out there views, but I like to talk to people about them and, you know, have an understanding. I'm not asking anybody to agree with me all the time, but we understand each other. And I guess that's what I feel like, is there's not really a whole lot of understanding.
No. Talk to a lady inside. It's a very interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Civil conversation.
Yeah, yeah. Alright, well, I'm going to go walk around a little bit more, enjoy the rest of your day. Nice talking to you.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit the like button and share it with everyone you know. Find us on Twitter as well as censorship-free platforms like BitChute and Steemit or DTube. Of course, subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to smile at someone you don't know every day.